Hello and welcome to the annual Nigel Frank Career and Hiring Trends webinar. We're delighted to be able to share with you today the latest findings from the 2022 to 2023 Microsoft 365 and Azure Careers and Hiring Guide. This year we made the guide bigger and better than ever, and as a result we've got many more topics to discuss with you, which we hope you'll find as insightful and exciting as we do. So let's get started. First up, we'll just introduce ourselves. My name's Craig Allen. I'm a director at Nigel Frank. I've been here since 2007, so pretty much since the start.
My name's Rachel Anderson. I'm head of client services, and I've worked for Frank Recruitment Group since 2010. A couple of years after Craig, and I've also specialised in various areas of Microsoft recruitment throughout those years.
So what is Nigel Frank? We are the global leaders in Microsoft recruitment staffing and sister brand to the Frank Recruitment Group. We were actually the first brand to be created when the company was founded back in 2006. Fast forward to today, and we have over 390,000 Microsoft professionals or candidates on our database, as well as over 500 Microsoft consultants helping us connect candidates and businesses globally. You may have been called by one or two of them. We get over 146,000 subscribers to our jobs via email alert and bring in just shy of 3 million visitors to our website every year. So there's a lot of attention from the Microsoft community on what we do. And as the largest independent studies of their kind, our annual Careers and Hiring Guide are no doubt to thank for some of our success that I've just mentioned. This year's 365 and Azure edition unveils the latest ecosystem trends, analysing over 73,000 data points with validated survey responses from over 600 Microsoft 365 and Azure professionals. The topics covered range from certifications, job satisfaction, salary benchmarking, and a new area studied this year is actually the digital skills gap. So without further ado, let's see what we learned. There's long been quite mixed opinions on whether certifications hold value for tech professionals, and this year we found that just 22% held zero certifications at all. As we've seen competition within the tech market gets tougher, it's likely more candidates are using certifications to stand out and add credibility to their skill set. It could even imply more employers are prioritizing certification to filter through candidates and find the most qualified ones. But there's no accuracy in guessing the reasons why professionals are taking certs, so we asked them. The most common reason we found was verification of skills, closely followed by better career opportunities and additional skills and value. This shows us that professional development is the key motivator behind decisions to take certifications. In fact, we actually found that only 29% of respondents said they did so to gain a salary increase. This fits the shift that we've seen in employee and job seeker priorities, where the promise of a large pay packet no longer always outweighs that of career progression. This is a prominent finding for businesses requesting candidate certifications, as it's likely talent will expect progression opportunities in return in order to stay where they are. With that said, employees shouldn't underestimate the importance that earning potential still holds for candidates, especially given the current cost of living crisis. I've seen in the table on the screen, really interestingly, around 90% of professionals deem years of IT experience more important than both certifications and degrees for boosting earnings. This may not be the case for every vertical, but it's still a remarkable finding, and one that implies for those looking to get into tech that doing apprenticeships and work experience could be more attractive on their CV than just a broad list of certifications. With earning potential still clearly important, we looked into when and why Microsoft professionals are receiving pay rises. And the top 3 reasons for gaining a pay rise circulate around receiving incremental pay rises, changing employer, or receiving a promotion or performance-related pay increase. But these differ according to both end user and partner employees. For end users, they're more likely to achieve a pay rise if it's incremental, whereas partner employees are more likely to receive one if it's performance related. Either way, it's interesting to see that the primary way to increase earning potential isn't always to leave an employer, but it's important that employers know that this is an action employees aren't afraid to take, especially in the current climate. And of course, this all has an influence on overall job satisfaction. And as shown on the graph, in many areas such as working hours and colleagues, Microsoft professionals seem to be very satisfied. However, they begin to be less satisfied in aspects like company culture, career progression, and training and development, particularly as they stay longer in each business. Again, that's the theme of professional development. The results here are useful for businesses because they know, broadly speaking, what they're doing well and what areas need a little bit more attention to ensure they are not only attract great talent, then actually retain them as well. But from our experience in the recruitment space, we knew these wouldn't be the only reasons Microsoft professionals might leave their current posts. Sometimes life doesn't go to plan, and we've seen that over the past few years for more than one reason. From the chart here, we can see that things like expired contract and redundancy are large reasons for Microsoft professionals having to leave the ecosystem. However, we can also see reasons such as better work-life balance, a career change, and to travel were also common between respondents, which highlights some potential issues within the industry that employers are overlooking. This includes the lack of freedom and flexibility, leaving employees wanting and looking for more. And when lives begin to be all work and no play, there's obviously a huge chance of burnout. And our guy found that 44% of permanent Microsoft professionals report burnout in their current role, compared to just 24% of freelancers. For employees, burnout could lead to poor mental or physical health and exacerbated stress levels, as well as more errors and missed deadlines. Of course, there are also issues for employers whose clients rely on things being done in a certain time and to a specific standard. But if employers don't take measures to ensure employees don't feel overworked and unhappy, they risk losing talent and needing to replace them, while running the risk of getting a bad reputation among the modern workforce. But burnout is far from the only thing motivated talent to reconsider their current role. Looking at our survey results, we see again that a lack of salary and career prospects are more likely to drive employees away from their current jobs. But what's interesting in these results is the focus on company culture, leadership, and vision. Over the past couple of years, we've seen professionals being much more focused on working for organisations whose values match up with their own, and this is mirrored in the results that you can see on the screen. While identifying these issues is useful for employers, we also wanted to investigate what hiring managers are doing to target them. As the table shows, employee skills training tops a list of actions employers are putting in place to combat feelings of stagnancy. And again, the recurrent themes of progression and development opportunities, this seems like a worthwhile avenue to explore. However, we also see that well-being is being prioritised through certain initiatives, as well as the introduction of new ways of working and vastly increased perks. What's particularly important to remember, though, is that it's not enough to replicate another company's successful strategy or to even prescriptively use these insights from the guide. All workforces are completely different and they'll need a tailored approach. With training and development and career progression clear themes for both the attraction and retention of Microsoft talent, let's take a deeper look at what L&D opportunities are most in demand with Microsoft professionals at the minute. The diagram shows the knowledge gaps reported by both 365 and Azure respondents and includes everything from cyber and cloud security to technical training and certifications. But before you start to rethink your strategy, again, make sure you're getting feedback from your own workforce to avoid the risk of overlooking what they actually want.
When it comes to remote working, we can see that while 43% of Microsoft professionals said their primary preference would be for full-time remote working, 44% said that they would prefer working from home some of the time. From this data, it's clear that while some Microsoft professionals are comfortable and fully acquainted with a full-time remote working policy, there are actually others who still crave the social interaction and variety in their week that a hybrid approach allows for. This shows the range of preferences employees can have and further confirms just how important it is to give your own workforce an opportunity to highlight what would be the most useful to them. Having already touched upon reasons why professionals may leave their current positions or even the ecosystem as a whole, it was important for us to also look into why different types of Microsoft professionals switch to other modes of working. We asked end user employees if they would consider working for a partner organisation, and a substantial 67% said that they would. Here we can see that not only are a higher earning potential and better progression opportunities key motivating factors, but variety of projects and a more flexible lifestyle are also significantly important to end user employees. And these are all things which they believe partner employment can give them. And of course, we also investigated the reverse. So whether employees working for a partner would consider working for an end user. And 59% of them said that they would. From the results here, we can see that partner employees are motivated by the potential of a better work-life balance in end user employment, as well as more chances for remote work. Interestingly, it's the reverse for end user employees that would consider working for a partner organisation, who rank the monetary and progression advancements ahead of wellbeing initiatives. So it seems that there's no good balance between these factors within the Microsoft workforce, and this could be another factor driving the movement of professionals inside and outside of the community. There are many different types of workers, so another dynamic we studied was that between freelancers and permanent employees, and whether they would consider working in the opposite role. Here we can see that 41% of the permanent Microsoft professionals surveyed said that they could be convinced to go freelance, with the main reasons ranging from higher earning potential to better flexibility and more autonomy. This seems to indicate that permanent professionals believe freelancers have struck a better balance in many areas, where end users and permanent professionals were failing to do so. When asking whether freelancers would take a permanent role, 45% of them said that they would. And it seems the reassurance of better job stability and security is incredibly appealing. While they no doubt understand the risk of this, the last couple of years have been particularly turbulent, especially for the self-employed, who felt they were less supported during the pandemic. And it's likely that they still feel that now, that we're in the middle of a cost of living crisis. We also see that freelancers believe permanent employment could offer them the connections they need to progress in their career, as well as a larger salary and generous benefits package. From the previous slides, we can see that there's plenty of movement, or at least consideration of movement, within the Microsoft ecosystem, and this can be worrying for employers. The economic climate and the effects from the pandemic have made the search for talent much more difficult. To understand the impact of this, we asked hiring managers what the top tech staffing challenges would be for 2023, with 42% citing the increased competition for talent. With the industry having been faced with a digital skills gap for years now, things only got worse when the Great Resignation and the pandemic came about, due to an increased demand for tech talent none of us could have predicted. Let's look at this in more detail. Many of the respondents claimed the digital skills gap was impacting their organisation's strategic objectives either moderately or majorly, with some even saying severely. With so few citing that this issue is impacting their business insignificantly, something must be done soon. And the problem is multifaceted. It brings an abundance of challenges, with the time-consuming task of finding the right talent being the most pressing. However, respondents also highlighted that despite the tough competition for talent, the available talent isn't always qualified, experienced, or skilled enough. And with technology innovation rapidly outpacing skill development, hiring managers must think outside of the box for talent acquisition strategies. One area that businesses can improve their talent attraction strategies is within their ED&I policy. From the table, we see that organisations are already prioritising specific aspects of ED&I. Understanding what ED&I means and what it means to be an ally is the first step in creating any successful policy and an accepting company culture. Similarly, we can see organisations are working on things like equal pay and blind recruitment. What's particularly positive to see is the number of organisations that are already targeting a wider candidate pool and removing bias in the process. These are the kind of steps that really matter. With ED&I potentially being a solution to staffing challenges, we looked at how organisations are measuring up so far. What's good to see is that, on the whole, these stats show that progress is being made. Although compared to last year's survey, we see that actually the change is quite negligible, indicating there's still a lot of work to be done. That being said, it's encouraging to see organisations put an increased resource into ED&I initiatives. Welcoming people from all walks of life into your business doesn't just expand your candidate pool and make it easier to fill vacancies, but it's the right thing to do. Creativity stems from all corners of the earth, so it's out with culture fits for good this year.
As we come to the end of this year's webinar, I'd like to take a moment to recap on the key take-home messages. As the talent shortage continues and the digital skill gap remains very wide, a competitive salary on its own simply won't make for successful talent attraction and retention strategies anymore. Employees are thirsty for knowledge and L&D opportunities, and that's reflected in what we've seen. Similarly, we've seen that flexible working is no longer a perk, but an expectation that can improve job satisfaction as well as attraction and retention rates. And as we've mentioned a few times today, consult your own teams before implementing new processes and strategies. They may have way better insight than you. So thank you for tuning in to this year's Nigel Frank webinar. We hope you found it useful and insightful, and any feedback you have will be most welcomed. We will be emailing over you a free copy of the guide very shortly, so you can explore the topics discussed here in greater depth in your own leisure. We're now going to open the floor to any questions that you may have about this year's findings and the topics we've discussed today.
Thanks, guys. We've got one question in the chat. It says, what's more important in order to get a job? Is it certifications or experience? I think, well, the short term answer, the most important thing is always going to be experience. Experience trumps certifications. I think that's the same for probably any industry. So that definitely is the answer. I would say the more certifications you have, particularly within cloud, particularly within Azure, the better you will look and the more well-rounded it will be, and it certainly won't harm your chances. So I would encourage everyone to get certifications, whether you're looking for a job or not. It does add value to your experience and your CV, and it is becoming more and more important, like a variety of things. But yeah, experience is obviously always going to trump it, as long as that experience is within modern tech. Question from Stuart: are there any hot skills required, i.e. Power Automate, Power BI, cyber? Yeah, it's a good question. There's loads of skills in demand that we're seeing at the minute. Security, anything within security is IT security, and Azure security is huge. Power BI is in demand, but it's a little bit more generic. Anything within Power Platform, Power Automate, Power Apps, Canvas apps, that is a very hotly in demand skill with very few candidates. So if you can get experience with Power Platform, and then also within cybersecurity, I'd recommend that for sure. How to get overseas as your job opportunity? Well, it depends where you're looking. We operate, I think, in 20 offices around the world, covering about 20 countries. So it really depends on where you're looking for a role. UK, for instance, is with Brexit, it's very difficult to get a role now unless you're a UK national. Sponsorship opportunities don't really exist without a visa. So it really depends on where you are in the world. But the UK is very difficult at the minute for obviously a variety of economic reasons.
So
how many? Yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
Rachel.
Yeah, how many years of experience appeals to employers? I think it depends on the individual vacancy that they're looking to fill. We do have, for example, sometimes clients who are looking to bring somebody on internally in a team leadership role, and they'd be looking for more years of experience, typically 3 to 5 years plus. But we also have a lot of organizations who are looking to expand, and if somebody has solid 1 year worth of hands-on experience alongside a few certifications, and they've worked technically and hands-on in projects for at least 1 year, that's also attractive to employers.
Okay, next one is, hello, can you share some insight into the best ways to transition into Microsoft Dynamics specialism as a BA? Is certification the only route? Any advice on getting the first Dynamics consultant job, please? Okay, yeah, without experience, it's tougher, but there's a lot of end customers and a lot of partners that will hire people based on a vertical experience as a BA. So if you're in manufacturing, look for roles within partners that specialize in manufacturing or end users, end customers that are on manufacturing projects. Certifications will help, definitely. 100% do that as much as you can, but I guess the easiest route in is that there's a lot of companies that will take BAs on a vertical experience and an industry experience as opposed to product. But keep applying. There's quite a common job title. There's plenty of jobs out there in that area. Is there a case where too much experience is detrimental? Yeah, there is, but it all depends on the job that you're applying for and the salary that you're on. So obviously you can get to a point in certain levels where you reach a ceiling, let's say as a consultant. But fundamentally, if you're looking to step up into a different role or a job that requires more experience, no. And again, too much experience isn't necessarily a bad thing. It all comes down to seniority of the role that you're applying for, and I guess the salary that you're on versus the role that you're going for. So not really, but you'll have to take that into account as you apply for any job, because there is such a thing as being overqualified, and the reason why is employers are worried about investing in you for you then to leave. So, but invariably, again, experience is a good thing. As a program manager, what core Microsoft certifications are best for gaining a grounding in Azure? It's a good question. I'll have to look back at all the different ones available. The Azure 900 ones, the fundamentals, is definitely the starting point. And as we've got quite a few people internally that are Azure qualified. Start with the fundamentals and then just follow the Microsoft course as you go through, because it's in order. So there isn't any specific that would help as a program manager, but start with that and work your way through to fundamentals, to development, and go from there.
So how attractive is the market looking for Azure cloud developers, considering the massive tech layoffs and AI growth? I think last year there was a lot of pent-up demand for hiring, and the markets went a bit crazy. This year has been quieter. However, the market is still extremely attractive. Cloud technologies are all in different growth phases, whether it be Azure or AWS or GCP. There's huge demand and there's a shortage of candidates. So despite what you read in the news about different tech layoffs, the market is still very, very attractive, and there's a lot of clients varying from GSIs, partners, lots of different Microsoft partners, but also end users who are still kind of looking for cloud developers and Azure professionals. So it's still an attractive market, and it's still a great market to bring experience in.
Yeah, it's a good point, that, Rachel. I think to be honest, Microsoft and other big vendors laying people off is a complete red herring. It's got nothing to do with the real market and the actual recruitment market for roles. Every team almost every company is building some form of engineering team or software development team, or they're outsourcing it. I wouldn't worry ever what happens at places like Microsoft, AWS, IBM when it comes to layoffs. It's completely irrelevant to the actual market that we recruit in day to day. How is the market for leadership roles in operations, cloud and infrastructure? Leadership roles are obviously slightly less easier to come by. There's less of them for a variety of reasons, but it's still very busy. Like I said before, development managers, engineering managers, infrastructure managers, the roles are still there. Particularly more on the more niche cloud Azure side than infrastructure. But the market's still really, really busy. So I wouldn't expect that to slow down. If anything, I think it'll probably pick up again over the next couple of months as inflation eases and the recession kind of doesn't get any worse. So we're expecting to see demand increase, and we've seen a much bigger increase in demand for live vacancies in January and February than we did in kind of Q4 last year, or, September, October, November time. So we're already seeing a big increase in live jobs. Right. I don't think we've got any other questions. So give another 20 seconds or so, but okay, no, I think we're done. Really appreciate everyone joining. If you've got any other further questions or anything follow up, please feel free to get in touch with Craig and Rachel, and we'll come back to you. One more question, actually. Do you hire in Canada? Yeah, we do hire in Canada. We've got an office in Toronto and an office in Montreal. Easiest way to get in touch is just go on the website, nigelfrank.com or Frank Recruitment Group, or just email in and we can put you in touch with whoever's out there. But yeah, we've got 2 offices in Canada. I live in the UK, but I want to move to Canada. Don't we all? Yeah, again, I think either get in touch with me, which is craig@nigelfrank.com, or and I can put you in touch with whoever's over in Canada. I've got no idea what it's like from a visa perspective to get a role over there, but we can put you in touch. So if you want to register your details, or we can come back to you after this, that's fine. But yeah, we opened, I think, 2 offices last year in Canada, maybe the year before. So I don't know much about that market myself, but yeah, it's pretty busy. Do you see virtual teams where people work for UK companies but are replaced around the globe? Yeah, kind of. There's obviously a lot of regulations that come with that from a tax perspective. So we place a lot of people in the UK as freelancers in Europe to get around Brexit, and there's a lot of virtual teams that are built in country, and you'll always work on some type of office, but invariably, if you're in the UK and you're trying to work on jobs from teams globally, there'll be projects where there's crossover, but it's quite difficult from a tax perspective. So there's a lot of regulations to get around. So it doesn't really work that well. It's more offshore capability. And for roles in Europe, I am a EU citizen, so no visa needed. For roles in Europe, I am a EU citizen, so no visa. Yeah. Again, if you're based in Europe, you can work wherever apart from the UK, unfortunately. So again, assuming you're in the EU, you can work for any other country in the EU. We cover jobs. We have offices in Italy, France, Spain, Germany, Belgium, and then we cover the Nordics from the UK. So yeah, we recruit all over Europe. So wherever you need a role, we can help. If there's any more questions, keep putting them into the chat. Right, I think that's it. So, right, thanks, guys. Any other questions, feel free to follow up. If not, we'll thanks very much for joining, and we'll hope to hear from you again soon. Cheers.
Thanks, bye.